In the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina in 2005, New Orleans became a city plunged into chaos. Floodwaters had devastated entire neighborhoods, essential services were crippled, and lawlessness began to spread. Amid this crisis, Blackwater was called in to provide critical security and restore a semblance of order in a city that had descended into anarchy. Blackwater operatives arrived in New Orleans shortly after the hurricane struck, bringing their expertise in handling volatile and dangerous situations. Their primary mission was to protect federal personnel, government facilities, and high-value assets in the city. With local law enforcement overwhelmed and the National Guard stretched thin, Blackwater filled a security vacuum that was critical to stabilizing the area. One of Blackwater's key roles during the Katrina response was preventing looting and safeguarding relief operations. With stores, homes, and supply depots left unguarded in the wake of the disaster, opportunistic looters and organized criminal groups took advantage of the situation. Blackwater contractors, heavily armed and equipped with advanced communication tools, patrolled key areas to deter theft and violence. Their presence extended to securing FEMA operations, ensuring that aid distribution centers and personnel could function without interference. Blackwater teams were often tasked with escorting relief convoys through the flooded and hazardous streets, where desperation and unrest could quickly escalate into confrontations. The operatives also protected private businesses and residences, many of which hired Blackwater for their reputation as a reliable and effective security force. Wealthy individuals, corporations, and even hospitals turned to the company to safeguard their interests during a time when traditional law enforcement was unable to provide assistance. Despite their effectiveness in maintaining order, Blackwater's presence in New Orleans was not without controversy. Critics questioned the use of private military contractors in a domestic crisis, arguing that their deployment blurred the line between civilian law enforcement and military-style operations. The sight of heavily armed contractors in a U.S. city sparked debates about the ethics of outsourcing security in times of national emergency. Allegations also surfaced about the aggressive tactics used by Blackwater personnel. Some residents felt intimidated by their presence, describing encounters that seemed more suited to a war zone than a disaster-stricken city. The lack of transparency surrounding their contracts and actions further fueled public skepticism. However, for others, Blackwater's role during Katrina was a necessary response to an unprecedented crisis. They provided a level of expertise and resources that local and federal agencies could not muster in the immediate aftermath of the storm. For those they protected, their efforts represented a lifeline in a time of desperate need. Blackwater's involvement in Hurricane Katrina highlighted the increasing reliance on private security firms, not just in international conflict zones but also in domestic emergencies. It raised critical questions about the privatization of disaster response, the accountability of private contractors, and the role of such entities in future crises. For better or worse, Blackwater's actions during Katrina became another chapter in the company's complex and controversial history.